Reading. There was a time when every house worthy of the name had a library, not a corner with 3 dusty volumes, but a proper room with shelves rising to the ceiling and an armchair worn in precisely the right place. The place where one's back would settle, evening after evening, while fingers turned pages scented faintly of tobacco and winter. Reading was not an affectation. It was not culture to be paraded in drawing rooms or produced when one wished to impress. It was the norm, like washing one's hands before supper, like dressing properly before stepping out. A gentleman read, full stop. Not because anyone compelled him to, but because a man without books was like a tree without roots. He might stand upright, but only until the first strong wind sent him crashing down. In those houses it was understood that time spent with a book was time gained. An hour among those pages was worth more than 10 hours spent chasing idle chatter. One read in the morning before the world began knocking at the door. One read in the evening, when silence thickened and the voices of others could finally fall quiet. Then television arrived, and with it the notion that an hour before a screen was the same as an hour with a book. The same armchair, the same time, the same rest. But it was not so. It never was. Television gives you everything pre-digested. The images, the sounds, even the emotions are packaged and ready for consumption. You sit down, open your mouth, and swallow. You need do nothing. You need not imagine the face of a character, nor construct in your mind the color of a sunset, nor feel the weight of the silence between 2 lines of dialogue. A book, by contrast, demands work of you. It gives you words and you must turn them into images. It tells you of a sound and you must hear it resonate within. It is effort, certainly, but it is an effort that builds you. Every page is an exercise for the mind, a training ground for the imagination. When you read, you are the director. You decide how tall that mountain stands, how cold that room feels, what face belongs to the man about to betray. Television steals this power. It says, look, I have already decided for you. And you nod passive like a child who has not yet learned to walk. Then the internet arrived. And with it the idea that an hour at the computer was somehow even better than an hour with a book. Because the internet is infinite knowledge, is it not? All human understanding at the click of a button. You can know everything about anything at any moment. But it is an even subtler deception. For the internet does not make you read. It makes you scroll. You leap from one thing to another, from link to video, from article to comment. You do not go deep, you skim. You do not remain, you hover. And while you hover, your mind builds nothing. It gathers fragments, crumbs, splinters of information that accumulate without order, without connection, without meaning. A book, however, compels you to remain still, to follow a thread, to enter a world and stay there until that world has changed you. You cannot leap, you cannot scroll, you must read line after line, page after page, and in that slowness lies everything. There is the time thought requires to form, there is the space in which the soul may breathe. When you read a paper book, there is weight in your hands, a scent in the air. The cover has texture, the pages make a sound as they turn. All this enters into you. It is not only the brain that reads, it is the whole body. The eyes see, the fingers feel, the nose inhales. And the brain, within this symphony of senses, works in a different way, more deeply, more truly. Before a screen you are connected, but only halfway. The brain is alert, too alert, in a nervous electric wakefulness. It is focused on the screen, on the moving cursor, on the notification that may arrive at any moment. There is no room for imagination. There is no silence for thought. You are connected to the network, yet disconnected from yourself. That is why the experience of the book is unique. It is not nostalgia, it is not conservatism. It is physiology. It is the way our brains are made. Reading on paper activates areas of the brain that the screen does not touch. It creates connections the digital cannot create. And those connections are what make you a thinking man, not merely an informed one. An informed man knows many things. A thinking man knows what to do with them. True gentlemen still dedicate time to reading. They have not stopped. They have not surrendered to the notion that everything is equivalent, that carrying a smartphone in one's pocket is enough to be cultured. They know that there are books that carry the scent of history, that have passed through decades, perhaps centuries, that have been touched by hands long gone. And when you open those books, you breathe in something that is not merely paper. It is memory. It is the residue of all the lives that have passed through those pages. A file has no scent. It has no weight. It does not age. It remains the same, identical, cold. You may delete it with a click and nothing remains. But a paper book endures. Even if you burn it, something remains. The ashes, the memory, the physical trace of what once was. Gentlemen know something else as well. They know that paper books preserve memory even in a blackout. When the power fails, when servers go dark, when the cloud evaporates, the books remain there upon the shelf ready. They require no energy, no connection, no password. They are free, completely free. And that freedom is something the digital will never grant you. For the digital always depends upon something. Upon a battery, a network, a company that decides what you may read and what you may not. We are propelled towards a civilization of silicon. It is true. We cannot halt the future, nor perhaps should we. Technology has brought marvels. It has shortened distances, multiplied possibilities, opened doors that once seemed sealed forever. But we cannot entirely remove our hand from paper. We cannot sever the thread that binds us to that ancient gesture of opening a book, feeling its weight, turning its pages. For that gesture is not merely a gesture, it is a bond with all that we have been, with our fathers who read by candlelight, with our grandfathers who kept books as one keeps jewels, with all those men who understood that true wealth lies not in possession, but in knowledge, and that true knowledge lies not in accumulating information, but in constructing thought. Paper is resistance. It is to say no to haste, to noise, to endless distraction. It is to choose to stop, to remain, to enter a world and stay there long enough to be transformed by it. And in an age in which everything flows too quickly, in which everything is disposable, in which words last no longer than a single scroll, holding a paper book in one's hand is a revolutionary act. Not because it rejects the future, but because it carries the past within it. And only he who carries the past can truly build a future worth living. So let us return to the library, to that room every worthy house ought to possess. It need not be large, it need not be luxurious. It need only exist, a space in which books are sovereign, in which silence has the right of citizenship. When you enter a true library, you sense something in the air. It is not mysticism, it is not superstition. It is the presence of ideas. Thousands of thoughts enclosed within objects you may touch, entire lives condensed into a few hundred pages. And you, standing among them, are small, yet you are immense because you may choose which life to live, which thought to make your own. Every book you take from the shelf is a promise. It says, I can change you, and it truly can if you allow it. But to allow it, you must give it time. You must sit down, open it, enter its pages, and not emerge until you have finished. The digital does not know how to do this. It interrupts, distracts, pulls you here and there. A paper book remains still. It waits. It knows that if you are there with it, sooner or later you will surrender. And when you surrender, when you cease thinking of everything else and focus solely on those words, then it happens. You forget where you are. The words become images. The characters become people. And for an hour, perhaps two, you are elsewhere. In another time, another body, another life. And when you close the book and return here, you are no longer the same. That is reading.